I never meant to lie. But when you've got a sick little brother, a father with a busted jeepney and an electric bill that could choke a horse, the truth becomes a luxury. I was 15 when I handed that fake birth certificate to the manager at Wendy's. He barely glanced at it, just shrugged and told me the graveyard shift was open. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week, minimum wage, no questions asked. The Wendy's I worked at sat like a forgotten thing on a crumbling highway in Quezon City. The neon sign blinked like it was short-circuiting, casting everything in this sickly red glow. Inside, the place smelled like fryer oil, bleach, and exhaustion. After midnight, the only customers were drunk students with no sense of volume and truckers who stared a little too long. I got used to the rhythm, the hiss of the fryer, the buzz of the drive-thru bell, the shuffle of mop water. My body ached, but I had a routine. And outside of work, I had Discord. Online, I wasn't a broke teenage girl pretending to be 18. I was just Thea, a horror movie geek who liked K-pop and drawing fan art. That's where I met Steve. He said he was 17, studying architecture. He knew all the same anime as me. Sent voice notes with a voice that made my chest flutter. I told him everything, how hard things were at home, how I couldn't tell my parents the truth because they were already breaking under the weight of it all. Steve listened, or at least it felt like he did. He never video called. Claimed his cam was broken. His Instagram only had 3 posts. One of them was a repost of my selfie. That should have been enough to make me block him, but I was tired and lonely. And when he called me his sunflower, I didn't question how he knew my favorite flower. I just smiled at the screen and believed him. I didn't know I was already in a trap. And the door was closing. The night he came to Wendy started like any other. I was clocking into my shift, fixing my visor in the greasy bathroom mirror, trying to ignore the ache in my feet. My coworker Jay was playing loud trap music in the back, and our manager was half asleep in the office, watching NBA replays. Checked my phone quickly. No new messages from Steve. He'd been quiet for days since I blocked him. I'd done it after the knife. Yeah, a real knife. Sent to me in a brown envelope with a note that read, "For protection. You never know who's out there at night." My hands shook when I opened it in the break room. The blade was cold, too sharp. That same night, someone had slipped a Wendy's keychain into my locker, and then a letter, handwritten. "You work too hard, sunflower." I blocked him everywhere. 5 minutes later, 5 new accounts tried to message me, so when the drive-thru bell rang at 3:12 a.m., I didn't think much of it. I hit the button and muttered, "Welcome to Wendy's, how can I help you?" Static. Then a distorted voice said, "1 Althea special, no pickles." My blood turned to ice. That's not even on the menu. It's something I joked about on Discord once. A burger I made up when I was sleep-deprived. Only Steve knew that. I stared at the busted drive-thru monitor. But tonight the camera worked. A face appeared on screen. Hood up, grinning. Something silver tapped against the glass. My heart skipped. The knife. I backed away from the register. Jay looked up from his phone and laughed. "Your boyfriend's, creepy Pere." I didn't answer. I just turned and ran into the freezer. Slammed the door behind me. The cold bit into my skin, but I didn't care. I curled up between frozen patties and old fries, trying not to scream. I stayed there until sunrise. When I finally came out, he was gone. But my body didn't stop shaking for hours. 2 nights later, my parents left to visit my Lola in Bulacan. My little brother was staying with a cousin. It was just me in the house. I should have felt free. Instead, I was checking the locks every hour. My phone buzzed at 1:17 a.m., unknown number. The message said, "I'm outside. Let me in or I'll tell your boss you're 15. My lungs refused to work. I crept toward the window and peeked through the curtain. There he was, standing across the street, in the same black hoodie, holding the same knife he'd gifted me. I moved fast, pushed the sofa in front of the door, grabbed a kitchen chair and jammed it under the doorknob. I tried calling 911, but my phone had no signal. Typical. My neighborhood always turned into a dead zone when you needed it most. Then came the banging. 1 kick. 2. Wood splintered. I ran. Bathroom window. Barely big enough. I squeezed through. Knees scraped raw. Landed hard in the neighbor's yard and sprinted until my legs gave out. Some barangay tanod found me crying behind a tricycle. When the police came, he wasn't outside anymore. But he wasn't far. They found him inside my closet, clutching my school uniform. He smelled like sweat and cigarette smoke. When they dragged him out, he kept whispering, "Sunflower, wait." I wanted to throw up. I thought things would get better after he was arrested. They didn't. Wendy's fired me the next day. Violation of hiring policy. I was a liability now, a child in an adult world. My last paycheck didn't even cover our water bill. Then the lights got cut off. My mother cried and my father punched the wall. They didn't say it outright, but I could hear it in their voices. Bakit ka kasi nagpauto? Why'd you let him fool you like it was my fault? I stopped eating, couldn't stand the smell of anything fried. My skin broke out in hives. Every buzz of a motorcycle outside made my stomach twist. I deleted Discord. My little brother asked why I didn't play Mobile Legends anymore. I told him I was just tired. Truth was, I didn't feel safe in my own skin. I slept with a chair under the doorknob the same way I did that night. I stopped drawing. Every time I tried, I'd see his face. That smile. The worst part, his trial kept getting postponed, and I knew he'd only been a few feet from me for months. Watching, learning my schedule, knowing which locker was mine, which shift I worked, what name I used online. The walls I thought protected me. They'd never been walls at all. Now I work at Jollibee, days only. Uniform's a little brighter. The co-workers are younger. My manager actually checks IDs now. But I'm still not okay. I duck when the drive-thru bell rings. I flinch when someone asks for no pickles. And last week I found a Wendy's napkin in my tote bag. Someone had drawn a sunflower and ketchup with 2 words, "Miss you." I told the police. They logged it as evidence, but nothing happened. Sometimes I catch myself checking every reflection, windows, mirrors, puddles, for a hoodie in the distance. And when I ride the Jeep home, I sit near the exit. Just in case. I'm not scared of the dark anymore. I'm scared of the people who smile too much, who know too much, who say they love horror but never seem to get scared. Because the truth is, monsters don't crawl out of screens or closets. They walk through the front door. They smile through a drive-thru speaker. And sometimes they ask for a Frosty and a side of fear at 3 a.m. People think the graveyard shift is quiet, peaceful even, but they don't know the kind of silence that hums between flickering fluorescent lights and a busted ice machine, the kind that makes every breath feel like a borrowed one. My name's Michelle Reyes, though people around here just call me Mitch. I'm 23 and I've been night manager at a 24-hour Wendy's in Las Piñas for the last 6 months. Not because I dreamed of it, hell no. It's just the only place that didn't blink when I handed them a resume with no degree, no references, and bruises up my arms that I said were from clumsiness. I dropped out of college when Mom got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. Dad? He gambled through everything, bills, tuition, even the last of Mom's chemo money. When the collectors started showing up at my jobs, I stopped telling people where I worked. Wendy's didn't care. They just needed someone to keep the lights on at night. So here I am, $12,000 a month, half of it gone before I even get paid. The rest? I stash it in places Dad won't find. Mom's morphine patches are getting harder to afford. Sometimes I lie and tell her the pharmacy ran out. She just nods and closes her eyes. Nights are usually just me and Mang Tony, the fry cook, who's about 100 years old and only speaks in coughs and nods. The place smells like wet grease and bleach. The parking lot lights have been out for weeks, so the shadows stretch like arms across the drive-thru. That's where I first saw Evan. He came in during a rainstorm, ordered a small black coffee, and sat there for hours. He said he was a freelance writer, told me I looked too smart for this place. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe it, until I started noticing how long he stared at my name tag. It started with the little things. He'd linger too long at the counter, his hand accidentally brushing mine when I gave him change. He always asked for extra napkins and scribbled in a notebook while watching me refill the ketchup. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was just tired, that maybe I needed the attention. But then he brought me a strawberry lip balm, said my lips looked dry. I hadn't told anyone I lost mine. A few nights later, a plastic hair clip appeared by the sink in the women's restroom. Same brand as the one I'd misplaced in my locker. "Found it for you," Evan said with a smile. That didn't reach his eyes. "You should take better care of your things." I laughed it off, but something twisted in my gut. Week 5, things got worse. I caught him standing by my scooter after my shift. Jamar, the high schooler who worked evenings, saw him too, but just pretended not to. Kid was scared. I couldn't blame him. Then I found him taking photos of me through the drive-thru window. When I asked what he was doing, he just said, "Capturing inspiration." I started sleeping with a knife under my pillow. One night after cleaning the back office, I noticed my employee file had been left out. Someone had circled my address in red pen. My chest tightened so hard I thought I'd pass out. I told the store manager. She told me to let HR handle it. HR never called. I changed the locks at home, stopped wearing my name tag, and started parking closer to the exit door. Still, every creak of the back door made my heart race. The thing about men like Evan, they don't need to touch you to hurt you. Just knowing they're watching is enough to make you feel stripped bare. That night started like any other. The coffee machine sputtered like it was dying. The air reeked of overcooked fries. And Mangtoni mumbled something about a smoke break, around 2:50 a.m. I didn't think twice. He'd done it before. I was wiping down trays when the power cut out. Total blackout. No streetlight, no drive-thru glow. Just silence so thick it buzzed. Then the door opened. I turned toward the counter and there he was. Evan, standing in the dark, no coffee, no notebook. Just him and that oily grin. "We need to talk about us," he said. "There is no us." I wanted to scream, but my throat closed. My body went cold, paralyzed. He reached out and grabbed my wrist, tight, hard. His nails dug into my skin. "This is real, Michelle. I know you feel it." I didn't think. I just moved. I yanked the hot coffee urn off the warmer and slammed it into his chest. He screamed, staggered back, cursing. I didn't stop to see if he was chasing me. I ran into the walk-in freezer and slammed the latch. My phone was in my back pocket. Hands shaking, I texted Jomar, 911 now. I curled up in the corner of the freezer, knees to chest, trying not to breathe too loud. I could hear footsteps outside, then silence, then the distant whine of sirens. When Cardew, the cops arrived. Evan was gone. The glass door was cracked. On the condiment counter, they found a kitchen knife and Polaroids of me, sleeping in my bed. My stomach turned. I recognized the curtains in the background. He'd been outside my window, maybe more than once. There was a note too, written in neat, terrifying cursive. "You'll be happier when you stop resisting." They fired me the next day, said I violated equipment policy by damaging the coffee urn. No mention of the stalker, no follow-up from HR. Just a final paycheck and a dead-eyed stare from the day manager. When I told my dad, he slapped the kitchen table so hard my mother flinched. Then he hit me, broke 2 fingers on my left hand, said I ruined everything, said I was selfish. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just wrapped my fingers in gauze and told Mom I fell again. The police? They filed a report, lost it due to clerical error. When I followed up, the officer asked if I'd maybe let him on. I stopped going after that. I got a job at a laundromat. It pays half as much and my shift is 4 a.m. to noon, but I can lock the door from the inside. I keep a sharpened steel straw in my apron pocket just in case. It's pathetic, but it makes me feel better. Sometimes I catch myself staring too long at the shadows outside. Every creak, every buzz of my phone at night feels like him, like Evan found a way back in. I sleep with the lights on now, and I haven't drunk coffee since they found his body a month later, hanging from the pedestrian overpass near our house. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything at all. They found my stolen hairbrush in his pocket, a Wendy's name tag, my size, and a crumpled letter. It said, "You're the only one who saw me." But I never wanted to see him. Now, even when I pass a Wendy's in a cab, I look away. The smell of coffee makes me gag. Every beep of the fryer still echoes in my ears like a scream. Sometimes at exactly 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzes, unknown number. Miss you at the counter. I delete it, block it, but it always comes back, because minimum wage doesn't just pay in pesos, it pays in fear, in trauma that seeps into your skin like fryer oil, in a justice system that forgets poor girls like me before the ink dries. The only thing that keeps me breathing, that sharpened straw in my pocket just in case. I used to think hard work and good grades would get me somewhere air-conditioned, somewhere far from Tondo's cracked sidewalks and alley cats. I was a scholar once, Up Diliman, political science. The first in my family to set foot on a university campus. Then came the cheating accusation. I didn't cheat. The professor never even explained what proof they had. One day I was studying for midterms. The next, my scholarship was gone and my ID deactivated. No one fought for me, not the school, not my family. So I moved in with my aunt in Tondo. Her apartment's so small you can stir noodles on the stove while lying in bed. The walls sweat in the heat, and the fan just pushes the smell of fried galunggong around. I needed a job. Fast. Wendy's didn't ask questions. That was the only thing I liked about it. Now I work 2 to 10, 5 days a week. I wipe trays, refill ketchup, clean toilets, and smile when old men snap their fingers at me. 12,000 pesos a month. I give half to my aunt for rent and electricity, and the other half goes to my sister's tuition. She's 12. Still thinks I'm just on break from school. I can't tell her the truth. Can't tell anyone, really. People don't care about your story when you're in a red visor and a name tag. Afternoons are the worst. The AC's been broken for months, and the ice machine groans like it wants to die. The heat sticks to your skin like guilt. Our regulars don't care. Construction workers, students cutting class, old guards on break. Then there's Lonnie and Tanya. They used to come in every other day, shared one value meal and argued quietly in the corner. At first, their drama was just background noise, until the day everything snapped. And I learned that even fast food jobs carry body counts. Fridays always bring the worst heat, the kind that slows your brain and makes your shirt stick to your back. That Friday was worse than usual. By 4:30 p.m. I'd already refilled the ketchup station 3 times, handed out 4 broken straws, and mopped the bathroom twice. The kitchen's exhaust fan sputtered, then gave out completely, turning the back line into a sauna. I kept wiping sweat from my forehead with my sleeve, hoping no one noticed. That's when they came in, Lonnie and Tanya. I didn't look up at first. I recognized their voices before I saw them. He had a deep, raspy tone, always laced with sarcasm. Tanya's voice was soft until it wasn't. They walked to their usual spot, table 7 near the window, and sat across from each other like 2 boxers before the bell. "Did you text her back?" Tanya asked. Her tone was clipped, barely above a whisper. "You going through my phone now?" Lonnie replied, loud enough for the kids in the next booth to glance over. I pretended to be busy organizing sauce packets, but I was listening. We all were. They started low, the way some arguments do, controlled, even rehearsed. But there was something different this time. Lonnie's hand kept clenching. Tanya looked like she hadn't slept. Then he stood up and slammed his palm on the counter. The napkin holder shook. Jasmine, our other cashier, froze mid-order. "Yo, man. Chill," one of the college kids mumbled. Tanya tried to leave. He followed. "No, one's walking away from me again," Lonnie said. And before anyone could move, crack. The Coke bottle hit her head like a hammer. Tanya dropped instantly, her knees buckling. The sound of her skull hitting tile was louder than the bottle. For a second, the whole place went silent. Then came the screaming. Blood started to spread from under her head. Dark, fast, too real. Jasmine grabbed her phone. I stood frozen. Lonnie just stood there shaking, the bottle still in his hand. I think that's the moment I stopped believing in happy endings. The sirens came fast, faster than I expected for Tondo. Cops, EMTs, even some barangay tanads showed. Up within minutes, they tried to revive Tanya right there on the floor. I remember someone saying her pulse was weak. I remember the way her hand twitched once, then stopped. They took her out on a stretcher, blood still on her temple. Her eyes closed. Lonnie didn't run. He sat down in the corner booth, head in his hands, muttering something about gin. Didn't mean to, he kept saying. Just blacked out. The police took him without a struggle. The mop bucket was already out before they'd even left. The manager, a guy from head office who barely knew our names, told us to scrub everything down. Jasmine quit that night. Didn't even clock out. I stayed. Not because I was brave, but because I didn't have a choice. My sister needed notebooks. My aunt needed rent. Trauma doesn't pay the bills. So I scrubbed Tanya's blood from the tiles, while Lonnie's voice played in my head like a broken song. But no matter how much bleach we poured, there was always a faint stain near table 7. Not red. Just a shadow, the kind that doesn't lift. Customers came in the next day like nothing happened. Ordered Frosties. Asked for Wi-Fi passwords. I smiled, took their change, wiped trays, and hoped no one noticed my hands shaking. I still see it sometimes. The bottle midair. The sharp intake of breath before Tanya fell. The splatter on the tile. And always that sound. Crack. I hear it every time someone slams a tray, every time a soda bottle thuds against the counter. My whole body tenses like I'm back in that moment, like it's about to happen again. The new hires don't know. They joke around, flirt behind the counter, complain about how long the shifts are. I envy them. They don't flinch when someone yells. I do. I can't help it. It's worse around 4:30 p.m. The sun hits the glass just like it did that day. The ice machine groans, the same broken wheezing sound. Once I dropped a cup and thought it was happening all over again. Sometimes I wonder if I should have done more. Should I have stepped in, said something, yelled? But people like me, we're trained not to make noise. Just follow the SOPs, de-escalate, call for help, hope the cameras are working. A few weeks after Tanya died, a woman came in and asked about her. "You're the boy who saw, right?" she said. Her cousin. I didn't know what to say. Told her. She was nice, always tipped. That was a lie, she never tipped. But it felt wrong to say otherwise. I still worked the same shift. Still earned the same P12,000. Still pass that faint stain every day on the way to the mop sink. Because people like me don't get time off for trauma. We get minimum wage and a broken ice machine. No one held a memorial. No framed photo near table 7. Just silence. The managers didn't want bad press. We weren't even allowed to talk to the news. They gave us all a briefing. What to say, what not to say. Like Tanya was a spill, we had to mop up and move. On from Saturday, said Lonnie turned himself in. Said he cried when he did it. The newspapers blamed alcohol and heat exhaustion. As if the weather did it, not his hands. No one asked how we were coping. Jasmine left and never came back. She texted me once, "Can't even pass a Wendy's without gagging, you okay?" I never replied because I'm stuck. Minimum wage doesn't buy recovery. It buys rice, rent, and just enough medicine to keep your sister's cough from turning serious. Some nights I think about quitting, about leaving Tondo altogether, starting over somewhere quiet. But then the bills come, and the freezer breaks again. And it's 4:37 p.m. and the ice machine moans and a customer raises his voice because we're out of barbecue sauce and suddenly my hands are shaking again. I don't even notice I'm crying until I wipe my eyes with a bleach rag. No one notices. Though we're just fast food workers, replaceable, invisible. But I remember Tanya. I remember the crack and the stain, and I know. Part of me died with her that day. The part that still believed in happy endings. It's not like I had a choice. My name's Michelle Santos. Mishi to most. I'm 17, but my ID says I'm 19. It's my cousin's old high school card, and no one's really checked too closely. Not when you're willing to work. The night shift at a Wendy's in Tondo, Manila. I've been doing the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for 3 months now, just to help cover my little sister's tuition. My dad lost his tricycle after missing too many payments, and my mom's hands are so cracked from laundry soap, she wraps them in rags at night. Quitting isn't an option. Sleep isn't a luxury. Guilt is part of the uniform now. Our Wendy's sits on a dark corner near the Pasig River. The air always smells like warm grease mixed with sewage. The neon outside flickers like a dying firefly. And after midnight, the only people who walk in are call center agents with eye bags and drunks looking for a place to throw up. That's when I first noticed him. We called him Tatay, a homeless man who hovered near the dumpsters, always wrapped in a grimy blanket, muttering to himself. Some of the staff gave him scraps. I didn't. He made me nervous. At first, he didn't look at me. Then one night, I caught his eyes through the glass, and they didn't move. They stayed fixed on me like he was waiting for something, like he knew something. Charlie, this film, student who works part-time on the Friar, noticed me stiffen. He always noticed too much. He offered to drive me home on his scooter like he'd done before. "Sakay na Michi, ihatid kita," he said gently. I shook my head. "Bus na lang, may pamasahe ako." I didn't want him to think I needed saving, but standing outside at 3 a.m., waiting for a bus that may or may not come, I started to regret saying no, because the street was empty, and Tatay was still there. Watching. The bus was late. Of course it was. Everything's late when you're scared. I stood under the flickering streetlight near the Wendy's, clutching my tote bag like it was a shield. I had my keys between my fingers. My mom's old trick. She said if someone grabbed me, aim for the eyes. The night was dead silent except for the distant hum of the Pasig and the occasional dog bark. I could feel the cold of the pavement through my shoes. And then, from the corner of my eye, I saw Tatay shift. He stood up, slow, shaky, like it hurt him to move. But he moved anyway. At first I thought he'd just wander off like he usually did. But no. His eyes were locked on me, and he started to shuffle forward. Each step looked painful, like something pulling at his bones. In his hand, he clutched something, paper, or was it a knife? I couldn't tell. I tried not to panic. Maybe he was just going to pass by. But then I heard it. "Miss. Too long." His voice rasped like dry leaves. "Help." I stepped back instinctively, one hand tightening around my keys, the other fumbling in my pocket for my phone. No signal, just like always. He kept coming. That's when I saw headlights. Charlie's scooter screeched around the corner, like a scene from one of his indie movies. "Michi," he called, panic in his voice. I didn't think. I just ran. I leapt onto the back of the scooter, barely grabbing his jacket before he hit the throttle and took off. As we sped away, I looked. Back. Tatay had lunged, right where I'd been standing. The paper, or whatever it was, fluttered to the ground behind him. He stood there, arms dangling, face blank. No anger, just emptiness. I didn't speak the entire ride home. And that night I couldn't sleep. Because what if Charlie hadn't come? The next morning, I showed up late to work. Hair still damp, from the cold shower I took trying to scrub the fear off me. My manager barely looked up, just asked if I'd clocked in. Charlie was waiting near the Friar. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I lied. But I wasn't. Every muscle in my body still felt wired. My hands trembled when I refilled the ketchup dispensers. Later, during cleanup, The bus driver came in for coffee. He's a gruff old guy, rarely talks. But today, he said, "Yung matandang pulubi, yung sa labas, binato yung bus stop sign. Gamit, patubali na yung poste." That old homeless guy, he smashed the bus stop sign with a rock. The post is broken now. Everyone laughed, called him crazy, but I didn't laugh. Charlie looked at me. "You saw him again?" I nodded. "What was in his hand?" he asked. I shrugged. "I don't know. Paper? I thought it might be a knife." Later, that night while I was tossing trash into the bin behind the store, I saw it. A crumpled paper lying near the wall. Stained, folded like it had been carried too long. I almost ignored it. Almost. But I picked it up. It was a photo, faded, of a little girl, around my age, maybe younger. Same haircut I had when I was 13, same smile, and written in shaky letters on the back, "Michelle, 2012. My breath caught. I stuffed the photo in my pocket, heart pounding. Back inside, I stared at my reflection in the fryer glass for a long time. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He thought I was her. The Wendy's buzzed with quiet gossip the next day. One of the cashiers said, "Tate's daughter went missing like 10 years ago, right at that bus stop." Another chimed in. "I heard she ran away with some guy. He's been looking for her ever since." Charlie leaned in while I cleaned trays. "You believe it?" I nodded slowly. "I found a photo. It had my name on it." He paused. "Michi, you think he was just confused?" I shrugged. I didn't know what to think anymore, but I couldn't forget the way his eyes locked onto mine. Not threatening, just desperate. Like he wasn't even seeing me. He was seeing a memory, a ghost that wouldn't let him rest. I started letting Charlie take me home every night. I didn't argue. I checked the scooter's back seat before getting on. Always, just in case. Home, I left the photo in my drawer. Couldn't bring myself to throw it away. I kept wondering, what if that girl really was named Michelle? What if she did disappear from that same corner 10 years ago? What if I reminded him of her because I looked just like her? The thought made my skin crawl, but also ache, because no one had ever looked at me like I mattered that much, even if it was mistaken, even if it was terrifying. I still work nights, still refill the ketchup, mop the sticky floors, and serve 3 a.m. burgers to sleepy call center agents. But I don't stand at that bus stop anymore. Charlie insists on waiting with me, even on the rare nights I don't take the scooter. He says, "Just in case," and I don't argue. Sometimes when I throw out the trash, I leave a small pack of fries by the dumpster. Not out of guilt, just habit. I haven't seen Tate since that night, but sometimes I still feel it. That heavy stare on my back, that question mark in the air. Who was she, and what happened to her? I may never know, but I've learned this much. The night shift doesn't just steal sleep. It gives you stories you'll never be able to tell without shaking. It leaves pieces of fear in your pockets, in your shoes, under your skin, and it always ends with a question. What if Charlie hadn't come? What if the bus had never shown up? What if no one did? Long before I ended up handing out cold fries under flickering lights, I wanted to be a nurse. I even made it to second year, aced anatomy, memorized drug names like a machine. Then our carinderia burned down. It was my mom's only livelihood, and she was too stubborn to ask for help, too proud. I dropped out, took the first job I could find. That's how I ended up working night shifts at Wendy's, right under the rusted belly of the Cubao MRT. The pay was barely enough, but the bills kept coming. My mom's rheumatoid arthritis meds alone ate a third of my paycheck. The rest went to rent for a moldy apartment with paper-thin walls. Most nights I'd fall asleep to the sound of my neighbor screaming at his girlfriend through the wall. Sometimes I envied her. At least someone cared enough to fight with her. Tonight, my coworker Rosa called in sick again, and the manager, some 20-year-old business student who smelled like vape and arrogance, told me to cover both the register and the drive-thru. No overtime, of course. "Just hang in there, Mika," he said. "We're all doing our part." I wanted to laugh in his face. By 2 a.m., the sweat on my back had soaked through my uniform. The air conditioning had been broken since May, but corporate refused to fix it. Said the fans were sufficient for now. The grease from the fryer clung to my skin like smoke, and I couldn't remember the last time I sat down. And right on cue, 2:17 a.m., he walked in. We called him Jogger Joe. Every Thursday, same hoodie, same look in his eyes, like he wasn't sure if he was here for coffee or a confession. He always ordered a small black coffee, no sugar, and sat in the same booth by the window muttering to himself. But tonight he didn't sit down. Tonight he looked straight at me, his eyes narrowing like he finally remembered something. Something dangerous. I should have noticed it earlier. The way his fingers twitched near his waist. The way he leaned forward just a little too close when I handed him his change. But I was tired, my eyes dry from the fluorescent lights, my thoughts drifting to whether I could afford rice and eggs this week. So when he finally looked up and squinted at my name tag, I didn't think much of it until he said, "You're the one who got me fired from SM." My heart skipped. SM? The mall? I hadn't been there in months. I forced a nervous smile. "Sorry, sir?" He didn't blink. "They said it was your complaint that got me fired. You and your friend from the BPO." Before I could react, he pulled a police baton from his sweatpants and slammed it down on the counter. It hit with a loud crack, knocking over a stack of ketchup packets. They burst like red blisters, splattering the napkin dispenser. My feet froze, but my mind screamed, "Move." "Ike, know what you're doing," he hissed, his voice rising. "They're watching us right now, the cameras, you're part of it." The drive-thru headset buzzed in my ear, but all I heard was my own breath, ragged and shallow. Behind him, the security camera blinked lazily. It was fake, just a prop, mounted years ago when someone got stabbed over a cheeseburger. It had never worked. I saw him vault the counter, baton raised. Instinct took over. I dove behind the fryer station, narrowly missing a stack of oil crates. The heat from the machine seared my arm, but I didn't care. I scrambled toward the crane staff exit, legs slipping on grease. The baton whistled past, my ponytail slamming into the metal shelf behind me. The crash was deafening. I pushed the heavy door open and ran into the alley. Outside, the stale air hit me like a wall, but so did something else. Mang Luis. 63, balding, and half asleep, most nights. But tonight, he tackled Joe like a linebacker, wrapping his arms around the man's legs just as he charged after me. Joe hit the ground hard, the baton rolling into the gutter. And yet, through it all, he kept screaming about microchips in the Frosty machine. The police arrived 15 minutes later. One of them asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't even know how. I'd never been inside a police station, never sat in a squad car. I just kept repeating the same thing over and over. He had a baton. He tried to hit me. He said I got him fired. The officer scribbled something, down and nodded, barely looking at me. "This kind of thing happens," he muttered. "He's off his meds." Apparently, Jogger Joe used to work the graveyard shift at a call center nearby. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, stopped treatment months ago. Fired after an incident with a coworker who reported his behavior. They said he confused me for her. Wrong girl, wrong place, wrong night. They took him away in a van with steel bars and no sirens. Back inside, the ketchup was everywhere. The counter, the walls, even a few drops on the ceiling tiles. And no matter how hard I scrubbed, it wouldn't come off. The air smelled like vinegar and iron. The manager arrived 30 minutes late, wearing pajama pants and carrying a McFlurry. He took one look at the mess and sighed. "You're gonna need to mop that up," he said, mouth full of ice cream. I just stared at him. I was almost assaulted. "Yeah, but the health inspector's coming this week. We can't have stains." Later that morning, HR sent me an email offering one free meal as trauma compensation. No therapy, no time off, just a burger, combo and a paper cup of Coke. The next day they cut 2 of my shifts, said I'd caused a scene, said I was too jumpy around customers now. They weren't wrong. I couldn't look at anyone holding a drink lid without imagining a baton underneath it. And every time the door chimed at 2 a.m., my hands started to shake. Worse, my mom's medicine cost went up again. Another 400 pesos a week. I couldn't afford to lose this job, so I kept showing up. People always assume the scariest part is the moment someone pulls a weapon, but it's not. It's after, when everything's quiet again and you're still alive, but your body hasn't figured it out yet. Your chest is tight, your knees shake. You keep looking over your shoulder even when you're alone. That's what it was like for me. Every night for weeks, I started flinching every time the fryer sizzled. I memorized the sound of every coworker's footsteps just so I wouldn't get startled. I carried pepper spray in my sock, and worst of all, I kept seeing Joe's face in everyone who ordered black coffee. I told the barangay about it. Their response? Bawal ang baliw dito. Crazy people aren't allowed here. As if that meant anything. They never even came to check. The night guard was the only one who believed me. Mang Luis started walking me to the bus stop after every shift. Said he had a daughter my age. Sometimes I cried on the way home. Sometimes I didn't even notice. But what haunts me most isn't the baton, or the yelling, or even the stains on the ceiling. It's this memory. I was at the register weeks later, and a kid, maybe 7 or 8, walked in with his dad. He looked at me, then whispered something. The dad smiled. He says, "You're the girl from the video." I blinked. "What video?" "TikTok," he said, laughing. "Someone posted the CCTV footage. It's got like 1 million views. You ran." So fast I smiled somehow, laughed even, but inside something twisted. It was funny to them. A joke. A meme. To me, it was the night I almost died. I still work nights. The grease still clings to my skin. The ice machine still leaks. And the AC is still busted. They replaced the counter, though. New plastic, easy to wipe. But I still see the stain. Not with my eyes. Just in the way my heart skips when the door chimes at 2 a.m. In the way I keep one foot pointed toward the exit at all times. People say trauma fades, but it doesn't. It just settles. Deep in your bones, like humidity. It becomes part of you. There are nights I catch myself watching the security monitors, not because I'm bored, but because I'm waiting. Waiting for another Jogger Joe, another scream, another baton. My mom still takes her meds. She doesn't know everything that happened. I told her I slipped and hit my elbow at work. She doesn't need more to worry about. Minimum wage doesn't just pay in pesos. It pays in hypervigilance. In the way I tense at raised voices. In the way I lock my front door 3 times before bed. In the way I rehearse escape routes in my head. Every time I clock in, they think I'm just a cashier, but I'm also a runner, a survivor, and sometimes a ghost. I move through the night shift like smoke, always half expecting the past to come roaring back through the door. It hasn't. Not yet. But I'll be ready if it does. Because part of me will always be running, and part of me knows. They don't pay you enough to survive.